college football podcast. We have a Seminole and a Gator together trying to bring you the fantastic world of college football. Thank you for joining us on this ride of hype, hope, and hilarity. My name is Brandon. I'm joined by Chris. Today we will do a recap of the Florida Gator victory and the Florida State loss. We'll throw in a special reference to Greek mythology. We will rip around the state of Florida to cover the other Florida teams. We'll remind you about our Patreon options. We'll preview next week's games. We'll talk about some traditions a little bit and remind you how you can get in touch with us. So, given all that, Chris, how are you feeling about today's show?
I'm feeling great. As a Gator fan, we're on cloud nine, and I do feel sorry for you. I really do. I feel for you, and we'll get into that later on. But I do feel for you. But I feel good. I feel good as a Gator fan.
Well, that means a lot. I appreciate that. It's we've talked about this a little bit. It's certainly a little bit fun, as cynical as it sounds, to see your rival go down, especially in a close game to another rival. But yeah. I don't feel as bad about it as you'd imagine. So we'll dive into that a little bit later.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yes, it was a great victory for the Gators at home, and Dan Mullen kind of brings things back into the swamp. I'll just let you dive in. How did you feel about them against LSU?
Man, I tell you what, we are playing pretty good. We have some things to work on, absolutely, and we're not. I still don't think SEC championship game playoff good yet, but we're playing pretty good on all three phases of the ball, and that swamp was pretty electric, and a lot of people are saying, man, it reminds them of 10 years ago, just the atmosphere at least of the swamp, and it was a blue out, and it was good 95% of the Florida fans wore blue. It looked really cool to see. Of course, the Gators themselves were all blue. And it was really good to get back to that feeling of beating top opponents and getting that swagger back. I don't like to use that word too much, but that's the best word to describe it.
Sure.
Getting the home swagger back felt good. And leading up to this game, two things stuck out to me. One, the line on this game started at like 3.5 for LSU, but by kickoff it was 1 point, and I thought that was kind of interesting. But almost every Gator fan I talked to, they all said the same stuff. Yeah, we'll play good. We're going to play good. We're going to give them a game. We'll keep it close. No one was like saying, hey, we're going to win, except for you, my friend, which we'll talk about that. But to actually pull this off, kind of surprised everyone a little bit. We knew we had this in us. We had the potential, but no one really thought we were actually going to win. And especially after that first drive where they come down, throw all over us, run the ball, and score a touchdown, we're like, yep, this is kind of what we expected. But we responded and finished strong and came out on top. Offensively, we're still not there. We're still not where people expect Mullen offense to be. But our defense and special teams is really playing really, really well, hitting on all cylinders, and our offense is doing enough. They're making drives or putting together drives, I have to say, when needed, and making the plays when needed. And the offense scored, 20? The defense scored a touchdown at the end. So the offense scored 20 points, which is kind of what the minimum of what you want. Go ahead.
I was going to say, that's also kind of what we expected. We talked about in the preview show, too.
Yeah, right. So it's kind of where we're expecting kind of the minimum. We'll get to the 30s and 40s later when Mullen gets his guys in. But they're scoring enough. But what's really sticking out to me is even when they're not scoring, they're taking their time. They're converting enough first downs. They're getting a lot of push and success on first down runs, which really either A, sets them up for success on third down, or just keeps the ball out of the other team's hands. And I'm seeing that a lot this year, which I haven't seen in previous years, is you're seeing less and less 3-and-outs. 3-and-outs really can deflate you. And it's happened. We are having 3-and-outs, but nowhere near as much. Getting a couple first downs before we have to punt and playing that field position and setting our defense up for success until our offense figures something out. I'm really, really liking that. Frank looks pretty decent. He had a nice touchdown pass. He's running it better. He still looks real awkward when he runs, to be honest. He looks like he doesn't really want to, but he's willing to.
Yeah.
Now, the worst was Chris Leak. Man, that boy did not want any contact at all. He wanted those red jerseys you wear in practice.
Yeah.
He wanted to wear one of those during the games. But Franks is doing enough with his legs, enough with his arms. And Mullins called another trick play that he called, perfect time. We had a tight end pass it back to Franks, set us up for a touchdown. I'm loving that. Other than Frank's interception, in general, we're putting the ball in the end zone, in the red zone. We're not settling too much for field goals.
Right.
Which I love to see. Love to see that. And again, we don't have a go-to receiver. Every game's different, but it's good. It's working. Because every game you have to factor in all the receivers. And Swain, who's been the guy all year, I don't know if he even I don't think he caught a pass this game, but Hammond had 85 yards.
Yeah.
So it's really good to see that all the receivers are contributing. And even Tyree Cleveland, who I thought was going to be the receiver, he doesn't, you don't see him too much in offense, but he is making special teams plays, left and right, on kick coverage. So liking what I'm seeing on the receivers, Jordan Scarlett and P. Ryan, the running backs, are doing a great job. They're getting a lot of push up front. I think Scarlett has the best vision and patience. P. Ryan's got that explosiveness, and I think he's real good at on the edge and receiving out of the backfield. And what I've noticed in this game, which I saw at first in Mississippi State, you have the I guess the option read where the quarterback will stick the arms and the ball out, and the running back will come in front of him, and he'll read the defensive end and make the decision. Well, now they've done this. I thought this was a mistake at first, but now I think it's on by design. Well, Franks will do that motion, stick his ball out, but P. Ryan, instead of running in front, will run out, kind of. And so the defensive end kind of freezes, and then he ends up pitching it to him. And that play has worked so well for us. It's kind of like an inside-out read option. It's weird. It's weird looking.
Yeah. And
at first when you see it, you're like, is that a blown play?
Yeah.
Is that a blown read? But it's by design now. So I'm liking that little wrinkle that we have. Kadarius Toney, he's touching the ball in the Wildcat and doing just enough to make you think. It's weird. Like, the stats don't shock you, but when you watch the game, the offense is doing just enough, and Franks is doing just enough, and that's all we can ask him. He give us 20 points, and the defense will take care of the rest. So that's what we want. That's what you want. I know fans, including myself, are expecting the 30 and the 40, and we'll get there. We will. But for now, the offense is doing what is needed. Defensively, man, there are some drives that we said, here you go, here's the end zone's that way. We'll show you where to go. But then there's some drives, sometimes, man, where our defensive ends and linebackers and safeties are just flying around, putting so much pressure on the quarterback. Ja'Kai Polite, goodness gracious, this guy can ball. And he's the one that took C.C. Jefferson starting. C.C. Jefferson, who I thought was going to be the man, is coming off the bench for Ja'Kai. This guy is pretty good. A lot of pressure on the edge. Reese and Joseph, our two linebackers, are finally clicking. And I think we're starting to see find ourselves in the secondary as well. Defense, when it's just downs where it's going to pass, forget it. I know we'll still have to work in the middle, which I'll get to in a minute here. But it was nice to see our defense at the very end force some turnovers, and Burrow hadn't thrown an interception all season. He threw 2.
I was kind of surprised to see that he hadn't thrown any. The first one was a pick 6, and the last one sealed the game.
Yeah. So a lot of that was pressure, though. A lot of that was pressure. I know he was in a situation where he had to throw it.
Right.
But so I'm really impressed with this team, the way they're playing, the way they're clicking. Special teams didn't really hurt us, but didn't really do anything special, for lack of a better term. But hey, I think if you get a neutral, if you get a 0 on it, I think it's a win. So we'll take that too.
Yeah.
Things we can work on. Sometimes our O-line can do better, especially with false starts, just penalties. And there was a couple times where our D-line just let them run right up the middle, right up the gut. Like I said, the first drive, right up the gut. And again, the third quarter, our offense sputtered, our defense was sputtering. I don't know what it is, but the third quarter is not a quarter for us.
Third time is not the charm.
Yeah, exactly, correct. Yeah. But the fourth time is. We finished strong again. So I like the way I think it's just. I'm not really sure. Maybe it's the other coaches are scheming stuff up better, and we're kind of waiting to see how they adjusted at halftime, and then we adjust. I don't know what it is. So we do need to clean up our third quarter. But our second and fourth especially is where we are shining. But a great win for the Gators, great team win, and just putting us back on the map, which I'm kind of nervous now, kind of nervous that people are seeing us. And honestly, I don't think we're a playoff team. Don't get me wrong, but now you're starting to think you're looking at the schedule, looking at the other schedules. You're like, is the East a possibility?
Yeah.
Now that Kentucky lost to A&M, if we win out and Kentucky, who plays Georgia, if they lose another one, it's a possibility now, which is insane for me to even talk about and think about. But it's a possibility. But at the same time, and that's a huge if we do win the East, what's our prize? Alabama?
Right.
I'm not really sure if I really want to win the East right now.
and you would have to be Georgia head-to-head. So it's very tough. But no, you're absolutely right. The complexion of the Gator team looks very different. I like, by the way, what you said about the breakdown between P. Ryan and Scarlett. Scarlett has the vision. And
he has the vision of patience. Yeah.
That's good. He'll follow the blockers. I like that.
Yeah.
And yes, the Florida State would love a quarterback that rushes for positive yardage. That'd be fantastic. So the fact that, he had 6 carries for 42 yards, Franks did. That's good. It's enough to keep the defense honest. That's all you really need from a quarterback. He doesn't have to look good doing it, as long as he can get some positive yardage. And I think mostly you see that effective on first down the most, where you're like, okay, you can gain 2 yards. That's okay.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's the last few years of what drove me nuts was the first down. It was a dive play for a yard at best, and now it's first down. You're going to run it. Maybe you get 3 yards, and that is so important for the next few plays. And well, something I haven't seen in a long time, and I'm excited. And I hope it continues. But if we can clean up some penalties on the offensive line, I think they'd be a really, really good one. It's just a little bit of holding and just false start. You don't need to be false starting at home. But I do understand LSU's defensive line is pretty nasty, so that can be a little intimidating. One thing, again, Kentucky did this to us. Mississippi State did this to us early on. running right up the middle. We have some dynamic defensive ends, but right up the middle, we're getting gashed a lot and pushed around a lot on the D-line. So that's something we definitely have to fix going forward.
Yeah, the 11 penalties total in the game, and the other thing that just stood out to me was third down efficiency, 4 out of 13. Just some small areas the Gators can improve, but in a game where you know it's going to be a back and forth, very physical contest, you can forfeit some of those third downs to give field position.
Yeah,
and you're right with the special teams, and I think the Gators special teams have been enough this year to pose enough of a threat. LSU had to pay attention, and they're not going to go after a punt. They're not going to expect good field position and scheme otherwise. So even if you didn't have a great game this once, it was enough to have success up to this game so far that it was enough of the threat they had to plan for it.
Right. And like I said, they didn't hurt us. It didn't hurt us. So, and I think that's a win. So I'm excited. Really, really excited and pumped. And to beat a top 5 team is I just didn't see this come. I really didn't see this come. Like I said, I thought we were going to play good. I didn't think LSU was going to run away with it. I thought maybe a field goal, 2 field goals better than us. But for us to come out and win, I'm excited.
Well, I was a little more positive. I'd called it from the preseason on.
Yeah, you did.
LSU would not win this game, and pretty proud of that. So, it was. Look, actually, the 8-point victory was probably the more surprising of this. You'd think you won by 3 or 4. But the way the game played out, it was still a one-play game. That's kind of the way I see it.
Yeah.
I also learned this first-year head coach to beat LSU since like Spurrier or beyond. It's been a while.
I don't think Spurrier did it.
Really?
No.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure he didn't do it either. His first year. So yeah, good for him.
Absolutely.
I did not know that was a thing. Yeah, I'm excited.
All right. And LSU's reward is they get Georgia next week. So
I know, right?
Good for them. That can go south really quick.
Yeah. We'll see. That's going to be a great matchup. That's going to be a great game.
Yep.
A lot of eyes are going to be on that for Florida just to see 2 things. How good is Georgia and how good was LSU? Interesting. It'll be fun. Absolutely.
All right. Well, the only thought I had was the trick play coming out again. That was something interesting. Right. And was the trick play last week against Mississippi State also in the red zone?
I think it was just out of the red zone. I think it was 25.
25-30. Okay. So the same area of the field, really, he kind of ran that again. And that's always something you scheme up, perfect timing on, you hold it in your back pocket, hoping it comes out at the right time, and man, 2 for 2 as far as I'm concerned on those. Well done. Yeah,
and even the touchdown pass, it was kind of a trick play, if you will. He did what we call a rocker step, where it's not a full blown jump pass, but the quarterback will take a snap and shotgun and kind of just duck down a little bit to maybe get the linebackers thinking he's gone for a run.
Right.
He'll just duck down a second like a rock and then step and throw. So he did that, Tebow did that quite often. Not a full-blown jump pass, nowhere near it. But that was kind of maybe a wrinkle. We'll say a wrinkle. We won't say trick play.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, well-timed trick play. And you knew, everyone was thinking, it's LSU jump pass. Tebow, he's here.
Right.
Everyone's looking for that jump pass. But I'm there's no way he's going to call this again. There's just no way. Everyone knows. But I like this wrinkle. I like this trick play. The tight end, baseball player who's a lefty, you don't see him in too often in Kroll, and he comes in and it was nice. So 2 for 2. Hopefully he keeps his streak going.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right. Any last thoughts on the Gator victory?
No. Oh, side note: Tim Tebow was inducted into the Ring of Honor.
Indeed.
Before the game, he was the 6th guy in there, and it's about him. Obviously, he's one of those guys that he could have done it the day after he graduated.
Okay.
It was a foregone conclusion. Everyone knew it was going to happen.
Yeah.
But it got me thinking of talking to Jared, our friend, like who else would be in there, and he threw out Percy Harvin, which I thought would be very interesting.
Actually, I'll add some thoughts on that, and then we'll talk about the UF tradition now, since it's kind of involved in this conversation too.
Yeah.
The Orlando media actually brought up that same exact question. I think the Orlando Sentinel, the main publication in Orlando area, said who deserves it more, and I don't. That's sensationalism. It's Tim Tebow for sure, but it does Percy Harvin deserve to be there? And you and I talked about in our previous episode top wide receivers, and he's top 2. There's no argument about that. So I don't think there's any reason why not.
Yeah, I could see you could throw in Chris Collinsworth, maybe Carlos Alvarez, as far as just receivers. Mm-hmm. Just kind of what Collinsworth has done with the NFL, but yeah, he was pretty dynamic.
Sure.
And part of 2 national championships, had a pretty decent NFL career. Yeah, I think so. I really do.
Yeah. Outside in, I'm saying yes, absolutely. And the other question, and you and I talked about this last week, and we forgot to bring it up. Can you explain to me what the Florida Gators do at the end of the third quarter every game and how it's changed?
Yeah, well, I still think we do 2 of them, but we had one tradition, and we added a second. The first one we've done for a long time is we sing "We Are the Boys of Old Florida."
Yeah.
And you link arms, arm in arm, and they sing the song, and you sway back and forth. Kind of very similar to what A&M does in one of their, Okay, except they're swaying the whole game. Right. We just do the third quarter. And there's a term in there, in all kinds of weather, we all stick together. And so when you do that, you stop for a second and you stick, and you go back to swaying when the song goes.
Okay.
And that's real fun. I remember as a kid doing that, and I thought that was real fun.
Interesting.
Looking forward to swaying and then stopping. We all stick together, and then you pause for a second and you go back to swaying. And I apologize for listeners to hearing me sing.
I was actually going to ask you to do it again, but I won't now.
No, I just realized, oh man, that was bad. Oh well. But so that's fun. And then, as of last year, we started doing a new tradition. After the passing of Tom Petty, who's a Gainesville native, I don't think he actually attended the University of Florida. He didn't really seem like a college guy. But
right.
He didn't attend, but he grew up in Gainesville. And so they play his song, Won't Back Down. And that's a really cool sight, especially since everyone has cell phones now and everyone's waving their cell phones back and forth.
Okay.
And then it's even cooler at night. Hearing that song and everyone just singing, it's pretty cool, fitting. It's obviously Tom Petty, but Won't Back Down, getting ready for the fourth quarter. A nice little rally cry. It's a pretty cool tradition, and one that I really, really like. And so, I'm an old school guy. I don't like change too much, but I like this change. This is nice.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a great homage to a great singer, and that's no better way really to do it than kind of a marriage of the 2 traditions. So
yeah,
I was fascinated by that. So thanks for your take on it and kind of breaking it down for the fans.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. All right. Well, we'll wait for the Ring of Honor / retired jerseys. We'll just throw that one in maybe a top 5 episode over the summer. That sounds like a fun one in the making.
Yeah, I'd like that a lot.
All right. So the Florida Gators are victorious at home and top 5 team. Florida State travels to Miami, Coral Gables, to play the Miami Hurricanes.
Actually, Coral Gables is nowhere near. It's not actually where the stadium's at. The school's in Coral Gables. The stadium is in North Miami.
Oh, Miami Gardens. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, as I kind of joked with you before, it's kind of a neutral site game because
it's
45 minutes away from campus.
That is
Yeah. You think Miami would figure a way out to build a stadium on that? From what I understand, they just ran out of land and couldn't do it.
Yeah,
but...
I've been down there. It's there's nowhere to put it.
Okay.
At this point.
Yeah.
There's nowhere to put it, really.
So it's really to their disadvantage, though. But
Yeah.
Either way, I was talking to somebody at work, and they were like, I watched this game, and it just looked empty in the stadium. I was like, yeah, I had to explain. I was like, they have to travel far. They bus over to the game. By the way, this was a, quote, sellout, according to the statistics. But you look at the stadium, that's clearly not the case.
No.
So.
Not at all.
Yeah, it's by the way, Florida State had one of the longest winning streaks against Miami at home. The last time Florida State had lost to Miami at Miami was 2004.
Oh my!
Yes, that's how long ago we had lost on the road. It was just an area we didn't struggle in. We traveled to Miami, guaranteed win. Right. We lost a couple of times at home in that stretch, but most of the time we didn't because we had a 7-game win streak. But usually I usually go with my positives and then my opportunities. I'm going to start with some neither, just some overall game observations.
Okay.
This is Florida State Miami. I always time it every year. I say, how long does it take for them to mention wide right, wide left, missed field goals? And impressively, the Area Network always breaks their own record. This year, it only took to the first commercial break.
Oh.
They had a montage of some of the biggest hits of the series, some of the biggest plays, and, of course, some of the biggest missed kicks. So, good for them. Eventually, it'll be like, hey, is this Florida State Miami? Hey, here's a wide right 1, 2, and 3. Here's a wide left. Have fun. In attendance for this game, and this just shows you the NFL talent that comes out of these two schools. Ed Reed, Warren Sapp, Derek Brooks, and Michael Irving. So
that's really good.
That's insane. It's always a fun game, and I say that facetiously because there's almost always some tension, as this game had, and I would say more than we've had in probably the last 10 years, probably.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that came out in this game, and it added to the emotion. It almost got out of control, and I'm just thankful to the heavens it didn't get to that because I never wanted to get to that point.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that in a second. But just some general observations about who was in attendance, the fans, and the alumni. So on to the positives. And here is the Greek mythology reference that I promised you so much.
Okay, good.
So let's start with the story of Oedipus.
The
Oedipus was, as a young child, born of a king and queen, predicted to one day murder his own father and marry his own mother. They heard of the prophecy, they were scared, and so they abandoned the child. Well, he was... If you were really worried as a king and queen, you wouldn't let the child live. However, they felt a little compassion, so he's abandoned out in the field. He's eventually adopted and raised by another family. Mm-hmm. One day, chance circumstance, he's traveling down the road. Who comes down the road but the king and his royal guard? There becomes an altercation. In the ensuing battle, he kills the king. The royal guard says, hey, you know what? Now the queen is a widow. Why don't you take her to be your bride? So the prophecy is fulfilled. He ends up killing his own father and marrying his own mother. Not knowing who they are, of course.
Right.
So it's very sad. Well, if you're Oedipus, how could you have avoided this destiny? Well, there's two things you could have avoided that would have never made this happen. Number one, don't kill anybody. Numero uno. Number two, never get married.
Yes.
Well, he does both. He didn't see the writing on the wall. He didn't listen to the wise sages of the day.
Right.
He didn't see his own destiny being fulfilled and didn't seek wisdom.
Gotcha.
So the lesson from this story is to know who you are, to know your destiny, and to plan accordingly. That's exactly what Willie Taggart did in this game. He knew I don't have an offensive line that's very good. He knows I'm fairly outmatched. I know I have to use my wide receivers to block. I know I have to catch Miami off guard. I know I have to use special teams. And he did all of that.
Right.
And we come up 1 point short, which is fine. So here are the positives that came out of his planning and what he learned from this Greek tragedy. Twice in this game, we forced 3 and out on defense. First drive of the game and also in the mid-second quarter. On our first offensive possession, we only allowed 1 negative play, which was a sack. But we converted a 3rd and 14, something just completely unheard of, trust me. And ended up getting a touchdown pass. We allow Marvin Wilson to get loose. This guy's nasty. It turns out up the middle of a defensive line. And then you team that up with the back, Brian Burns, who has 7 sacks, tied for second in the nation, by the way.
Wow.
And a defense that has now, according to after this game, forced 9 fumbles this season. That's fantastic. What Taggart really did in this game was he said, when we have good field position, which we haven't had this entire season, we are going to make it count. So here are the scoring drives for Florida State.
Right.
We end up getting a sack fumble. That becomes a field goal. We get a 45-yard punt return by DJ Matthews. That becomes a touchdown. On that drive, by the way, we ran every single play except for the touchdown pass itself. Right before half, we stopped Miami on a 4th and 3, which very weird decision to go for it there.
Yep.
But we'll take it. They were on the FSU 48-yard line. That becomes a Florida State field goal. To start the third quarter, we get 2 sacks on our first defensive possession. We end up forcing a punt, which turns into a 63-yard punt return touchdown. So that's how we got our scoring plays. The only time we actually earned an entire field worth of positive plays was the first drive of the game.
Okay.
So you knew you had to come in and do something like that because your offense just flat out couldn't move the ball. False starts. Procedure penalties. The thing that stood out to me was the timeouts, which we'll get to in the opportunities. But just very opportunistic on every single drive that becomes a score. The wide receivers were clutch. Almost every catch was a conversion or just a big momentum swing in the game.
All right.
We held Perry, quarterback from Miami, 13 of 32 on the day. So pretty inefficient, actually, throwing the ball. We'll talk about the 4 of those passes and it being touchdowns. So that's something the secondary is going to have to work on. That's, just the opportunities that we took advantage of.
Right.
Let me go ahead and go to the play everyone's going to want to talk about and remember from this game, which is understandable. And that was early. Was it early fourth quarter? It was the trick play. We threw the lateral pass and it goes over the secondary for a touchdown. One of the things, Willie Taggart's kind of come up this year, and there's a few hashtags he's come up with. And one of them is hashtag do something.
Okay.
One of them is hashtag blame no one.
Okay.
And so I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to say I wish they would have reviewed the call. And I understand in the heat of the moment why you would make that decision. But having seen it even live, I'm baffled. And I don't understand why you don't review this play. Francois takes a snap, and the play before this, we completely baited the defense. They were expecting a wide receiver screen where you'd run for a few yards. We've been doing this all season.
Right.
And we were up 27-21, reeling because Miami's defense had gotten the best of us for all of the third quarter. And it was a perfectly timed decision. It was a perfect throw. It was a perfect call. And it was just 6 inches within question. And so it wasn't reviewed. It didn't stand. We end up driving down, and we miss a field goal, and we never score any second half points. So, yeah. Hashtag blame no one.
I'm going to say, as a non-Florida State fan, I'm going to start blaming people.
Okay.
Y'all got hosed.
Okay, there you go.
You got hosed.
I didn't say you did.
This is where I said I feel bad for you. I feel bad for y'all because you got hosed. And maybe it's Taggart. He should have. Hey, it was a questionable play. Let's call timeout. Let's take our time. Let's plead with the ref to at least look at it. I don't know, maybe. But y'all got hosed. Because, man, that play, you score that touchdown, I think it game over.
I think there's a 90% chance we win the game if that actually goes through.
Yeah, absolutely.
You go up by 13, all the momentum comes back to Florida State. It's a tough one to swallow, but it is what it is.
I know it's one play, and there's plenty more time. I get that. But I just feel that because I'm watching it and I saw it, it's because this is one of those 2 TV days.
Hey, me too.
The Gators on the big TV and FSU on the side. In the corner of my eye, I see this touchdown pass, and I'm like, oh, game over. And I go back to the Gators, and I look over, I'm like, wait, they're reviewing that? Or they didn't, what? They didn't review it? How's that? And then, so I couldn't hear, but I saw them looking at it, and I'm like, okay, so it was good, so they're going to call a touchdown. But they didn't give him a touchdown.
Illegal forward pass. And that's the thing, it ends up backing us up. The next play, actually, DJ Matthews catches a first down pass, and we get in field goal range, but the writing was on the wall. I saw the prophecy coming fulfilled. I said, we're going to miss this kick. I already know what's going to happen. And sure enough, I was right. So, again, it is what it is. When you're a ref, they have a hard job.
Yeah, I agree.
It's in the moment, you don't think that you're going to take the time to review it. And just the thing that baffles me the most about it, and then we'll leave it at that, is if you watch the actual game, you can see the mouth of the ref saying, quote, it wasn't that close. And Willie Taggart confirmed that in his post-game interview. The ref told him, quote, it wasn't that close. It wasn't worth the review. So
really,
there you go. There's that.
I think anytime it's a touchdown, you gotta at least take a peek. Someone up top. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know about that.
Very, very tough. But let me add on the opportunities.
Okay.
And let me throw in the ways that this may not have mattered. The second half Miami team is kind of what I expected to see most of the game. We didn't see it until about the third quarter.
Right.
But before that, with the Noles, got to keep your emotion in check, guys. Don't eliminate the emotion. I'm not saying that. Please don't.
Right.
But there was some pregame chippery. Is that a word?
Yep. It is now.
There was a... Let's trademark it. Let's put a stamp on it right now.
Yeah.
Florida Focus Podcast.
Yep. Yeah, I like it.
I guess there was the way they set up Hard Rock Stadium, you have to cross paths with the other school to get to your locker room. And so, we ended up crossing paths with the Canes after pregame warmups, and then they started jawing each other.
Just dumb.
Yep.
That's just dumb.
So, there was that. And then there was, of course, let me hold off. There's a kickoff return right before halftime that kind of gets chippy too. But even before that, our secondary was getting lit up. Pass interference, especially on Myers. He had a rough game. He got called for it 3 times, and he got beat for a touchdown. We allowed 4 passing touchdowns. We already talked about that with Perry. Mm-hmm. The one that really got me was the second one after Miami got their first turnover from us.
Yep.
But on this particular one, Cager gets the target on third down and drops it, but the defender, and I'm blanking on who it was for Florida State, was celebrating like he broke it up, but he didn't.
26, I think was the number.
Might have been Stanford Samuels the third. But I'll let the fans correct me. I'm sure we'll hear about it.
Yeah.
Cager gets up, and I almost just see it in his eyes. He's like, I had him beat. I just dropped it. And I'm like, please don't throw it to him again. And sure enough, that's the exact same call they go to on 4th down, and he catches it. And he just makes our guy look silly. And that, to me, was just, he owned it. I was baffled. I was like, that was the right call, and we just looked dumb.
Yeah. Well, Cager's been doing that all year.
Yeah, he's a big guy. He doesn't have the speed. He's kind of a possession receiver from what I've seen.
Yeah.
But all of Miami's wide receivers, very, very good.
Yes.
Our timeout usage needs improvement. We took a timeout on the very first drive of the game. I understand it was 3rd and 14, but it was with 11:09 left in the first quarter. So you don't even get 4 minutes into the game.
Right.
You burn one. We burned another one with 11:19 left in the second quarter. it would have been an illegal shift, so Taggart calls a timeout to negate a penalty. And then we take another timeout about 4 minutes later. So with 8 minutes left in the first half, we have no timeouts left.
All right.
We give up 6 sacks according to my count. There might have actually been 7. We only rushed, our longest rush today was 13 yards. We allowed 8 different Miami receivers to catch a pass. Couldn't stop anybody. We allowed 2 touchdowns on 4th down. We already talked about that. We actually had a 2nd and 1 on offense and ended up having a punt. We actually, even in that series, took a timeout. That was one of the timeouts I talked about, and it still didn't matter. We ended up having a punt anyway.
Yeah.
There was a play to Marion Terry. We could have switched momentum if he caught this pass. It was like a 25, 30-yard pass. Doesn't make the effort. Kind of sticks out his hands. Takes a pretty good hit. But to quote Lou Holtz, if you're going to get hit, you might as well make the catch. So he didn't do that. Our first down yardage decreased for the game. It was very good on the first drive and gradually got worse. We had no second half offensive points, only 1 punt return for touchdown, which was good for DJ Matthews. We had 10 tackles for loss up until midway in the third quarter. We had a 20-point lead. We had all the momentum. And then with 8:11 left in the third, everything changed.
Yeah.
Everyone saw it happening, Chris. We ended up going from negative plays. We had a bad punt. We throw an interception, give up 3 sacks. We allow 2 touchdowns. We give up 2 punt returns that are very, very long. And we start missing tackles. And so the writing was on the wall. We knew this would happen, and I'm just glad it happened as late as it did. So my opinion coming out of this, obviously, Florida State has some chances to win this game and played above themselves. Right. But in my opinion, better team won.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a tale of 2 halves. And you're watching the game, you're thinking, all right, when's Miami going to show up? And they finally did. And that's one of those, like, I understand, like, I feel it's got to be frustrating knowing that the second they had that turnover, like, oh, here comes the stupid chain, here comes whatever, and not responding. Knowing it's coming.
Yeah.
Knowing that they're going to get hyped and whatever, and not responding. It's got to be frustrating, for sure. This reminds me, I feel your pain as a Florida fan. It reminds me, I think it was 2003. The Gators went to Miami, and we had a very similar game. But back it up before that, we had a guy named Brock Berlin.
Brock Berlin.
Yeah. He originally signed with the Gators, and he was supposed to be the next guy, whatever. But some guy named Rex Grossman beat him in the spring. So he transfers to Miami, and then in 2003, I believe, we go down there. Well, pretty sure Grossman was gone at this point. I think Leak was a freshman.
Sounds right.
And we go down, and I think they're like ranked 5, 4, something like that. And we jump out all over them. And I remember, first half was all us, and I'm jumping up, dancing, and we just slowly let them come back and slowly ended up losing that game to them. We jumped all over them. And so I feel your pain knowing this, like, oh, we have Miami, we're going to beat Miami.
Yeah.
And then you're just watching the second half going, we're not going to beat Miami. Even 2 years ago, the Gators went to Knoxville, jumped up 21-0, and pretty much did nothing the second half.
Oh, really?
And ended up losing that game, too.
Wow.
So that's a frustrating thing to watch. You see your team put up points the first half, and the second half, you're just like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Every drive, you're like, no. So I feel your pain. I really do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Florida State moved the ball in the first half, and then in the second half, 45 offensive yards. That's it. The last offensive play we ended up running is another sack on Francois. He actually lost his helmet, and the play was called dead. Wouldn't have mattered. It was just too much. Last thought real quick, and I've talked about this before. Man, I'm in love with kickers. I think you probably can tell. Logan Tyler. What a game. He's our kickoff specialist and punter. But on the kickoff, the run right before the end of the first half, we kick off to Miami, and guy breaks free. So the last guy, of course, is the kicker. Well, Logan Tyler goes to make the tackle. Well, he's a kicker. What kind of form does he have? He's not in the weight room much. If he is, he shouldn't be. So he He makes the tackle, but he accidentally grabs a face mask. All right, it looked pretty innocent, but obviously it shouldn't be done.
Yeah.
So the guy goes down. He's pretty hurt. Well, this fires up Miami, so they end up nearly clearing the bench.
Yeah.
And getting a technical foul for it. So the game could have gone a little more drastic than we would have hoped for, and I'm glad that the coaches and other, unfortunately, security, law enforcement had to get involved, but it didn't escalate into anything too bad. But that tells me this guy's an athlete. He's not afraid to make a tackle. Unfortunately, he might have gotten hurt in that play or like somewhere in this game because he was wincing pretty much the rest of the game. And Aguayo actually took one kickoff kind of in his stead. But I love that. This is the kind of stuff that comes out of players in a rivalry because these are players that know each other from the same state. And it was a fascinating watch. So I love the passion. Please don't lose it, guys. Take that into the bye week. Take that into Wake and the rest of the year. Know that you came close to being a really good team, and you might just actually do it.
Yeah. Yeah. When you said the kickoff, I think it might have been Aguayo. I don't know what led to this. I know there's penalties or whatever, but didn't he end up kicking off from the 50?
Right.
I looked over. I was like, "Are they kicking off from the 50?"
Yeah.
I tapped my wife on the shoulder. Look at this. I said there must be penalties involved.
Yeah.
I just thought it was pretty funny.
Yeah.
And it went through the upright. She's like, "Oh, do they get 3?"
Yeah.
She was joking. She's
you don't get points on that one, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I feel like you should, but I mean, I also don't want it to go the Arena Football League where you play it off the net type of deal. So let's keep that out of it. Real quick side note: Ricky Aguayo, he does miss a field goal, obviously, but he makes 2 of 3, and he sets his career long, 54 yards. So good for him. That was one of the areas he struggled. Anything 40 plus, you're like, probably a 25% chance, but he nailed it.
And he could have made it from longer.
Yep.
Like it wasn't even close.
Love those.
Yeah. I will say this though, you got to get DJ Matthews the ball more. Screens, maybe even jet sweep. I don't know. The dude in open space is pretty good.
And we're doing that sparingly. He's got that quick step, so the punt returns is a great area to have him on. He's the one that threw that touchdown pass that was called back, and he got the next. So yeah, he's good for 4 to 6 catches a game. When the offense is trying to plan around Tamarian Terry not catching a 70-yarder or Keith Gavin getting a clutch third down, things like that. And so he adds another dimension for sure. So good to see that. You would have liked to have seen Naquan Murray have a little bit of better game here, but it just wasn't meant to be. So, yeah. Good game. Any last thoughts on the Noles and Canes?
No, it's one of those, like, you knew Miami was going to win, but going into it, Florida State, Miami rivalry game, I'm not too shocked that it was only at 1 point. I would have been shocked if Florida State walked away with it.
Yeah.
But the fact that it was close, I'm like, yeah, that's what they do.
Yeah.
That's what they do in this series.
You're right. And I'm not upset about it. This is not a game I was like, I didn't expect us to win. I expect us to get blown out. We lose by 1. I was like, hey, they didn't cover the spread. That's how I see it.
Yeah.
So
that's good.
Awesome. So that was a close game. LSU, Florida's a close game. Some other teams in Florida had some non-close games.
Yeah.
We'll move on to that. So UCF continues their hot streak. They win comfortably against SMU. Their offense continues to excel. They actually make a really big jump in the polls, and probably deservedly so, considering everybody else in the landscape. They're ranked 9 in the AP now and 10 in the coaches.
Okay.
Pretty big jump. The best news, yes, there's better news than that for UCF, is that 2 of your remaining opponents are now ranked.
Okay.
UCF is 23 and Cincinnati 25.
Okay.
Yeah. Not that either of these teams have beaten anyone great. UCF has probably the best win is against Pitt. South Florida has wins against Georgia Tech and Illinois. The biggest thing with that is it's 2 Power 5 teams. There's probably not bowl eligible Power 5 teams, so they're not terribly wonderful. Cincinnati, their best wins probably UCLA, who's probably going to winless this year.
Yeah.
Chip Kelly. So take that as you will. But that really helps UCF's strength of schedule. We talked about how porous it was, and So if there's any hope of a playoff berth, that's where you're going to actually hang your hat.
Right.
So during this game, McKenzie Milton does have a scare. He has to go out for about 3 plays. Ends up coming back, finishing just fine. It was one of those, not quite the Trevor Lawrence type of hit, but, you're like head, neck, concussion. Oh, man, he might be out, but no, he'd have been okay.
Yeah.
Let me throw you some stats about UCF, because I've looked this up, and, man, I'm impressed with some of the things that they're doing. Adrian Killens, who's their running back, 23rd in the nation all-purpose yards. McKenzie Milton, 5th in the nation on total offense.
Okay.
As a team, UCF is 10th in passing touchdowns, 19th in passing yards, 10th in rushing, 19th in scoring defense, 2nd in the nation in third down percentage. They're lighting up where it counts.
Yeah.
And when you can score that many points, I think their average is somewhere in the high 30s, low 40s. You're forcing teams to do things they're not comfortable with, and that makes your passing defense look fantastic because we talked about it earlier. You have to pass to come back. You make throws you're not supposed to, and they can't run the ball on you. So
yeah,
they're doing all the right things. It's an interesting path. We talked enough about their path to the playoff last week, and I think their chances improved slightly from what we talked about. But it'll be an interesting week. We'll talk about them in a second. But it's very impressive to see what they're doing so far.
Yeah. Milton's he's a solid quarterback. He's a solid just player all around. How do you think he will translate to the NFL?
I don't think he needs to go this year. So you get one more season. My fear is just he's not tall enough.
Okay.
Who was the quarterback from Missouri that was really short? Chase Daniel?
Yeah.
That's what I think. Like, Missouri had to do within the SEC. Well, this was probably Big 12 play, moving to SEC. They had to spread out the offensive line so much so he could see the lanes. He wasn't tall enough.
Yeah.
And when you're in the NFL, your offensive line is 6'4". So that's probably the biggest thing against him, and I don't know that it translates. It's a pretty good topic to discuss, and I know some of the media around here is kind of throwing that out there. Is he an NFL quarterback? Can he do it? I think the biggest thing going against him is that he goes with experience from a team that runs a spread. And the biggest thing I see about this, and this just gets my goat, is UCF late in the game, not trying to score. You would think, okay, they're going to run the victory formation, right?
Right.
We should all know what this is. Quarterback goes under center. You have 3 running backs in the back just in case there's a fumble.
Yeah.
UCF runs the victory formation in the shotgun.
Okay.
He can't even go under center because they never do. They're more comfortable snapping it back, just taking a knee 5 yards behind line of scrimmage.
Right.
And that's the biggest tell to me, where I'm like, okay, if he's going to actually go to the NFL, there's going to be a lot of work has to be done, and I don't think an NFL team will take that chance.
Yeah. Well, I will say this. Drew Brees, you're going to hear this a lot with him. Drew Brees, 5'8". He is now the all-time passing yards leader in the NFL.
You're right, as of tonight. Very good call.
Yeah.
Very good call.
So it's not impossible. And I think Russell Wilson's kind of short too. And I think a lot more NFL teams are going more shotgun.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's too crazy, but I agree. Traditionally, your points are definitely valid.
I think we both have a good point. He'll probably get a shot then. That seems fair, right? Practice squad. I don't know if he comes drafted, but maybe a free agent, something like that.
Right.
Again, he was a true junior, I believe, and so there's no reason to take him out this year.
Yeah.
Give him another season, see what happens, go from there.
Okay.
I think the biggest thing and probably the reason he won't leave is because he's chasing so many school records. And he could be probably the best quarterback in UCF history if he stays. And, why would you want to give that up?
Yeah, and if you're kind of on the edge of maybe being a backup or not, stay.
Right.
if you're guaranteed a starter, maybe think about it. But if you're in this position, just stay.
Yep. And let's not lie here. It comes down to the money sometimes.
Sure.
Blake Bortles came out early from UCF because he knew it was a hot time. It was a good time to go in the draft. He was the 3rd overall draft pick for the Jaguars because they needed someone, and his draft stock would be good. If he waited another year, he'd come out with a totally different class. It would not have been as good.
Right.
So.
Yep. All right. Next up, we have FAU. They pulled out a victory over ODU, Old Dominion, 52-33. And you kind of figure this is going to happen. But one interesting thing, 6 minutes into the third quarter, Old Dominion scores, and they're only down 21-26. And it's kind of interesting, kind of keep it close, but then FAU ends up blowing them out after that.
Okay.
But I was kind of shocked that it was that late into the game and Old Dominion within one score.
Hang around.
But Florida Atlantic handled their business afterwards. Nothing too crazy. Just a lot of big explosive plays after that, which you expected. But one side note, Singletary, the running back from FAU, his 19th straight game scoring a touchdown.
Wow. That's
insane. I understand you're going to play some lesser opponents, but they had Oklahoma, UCF, playing some decent here and there.
Yeah.
So, but 19 to do in a row is impressive. He had 168 and 2 touchdowns. So they keep rolling and get a solid win, bounce back win versus Old Dominion.
This could be a win where they take off in their conferences. So that's kind of the way I see it.
Yeah.
All right. Good for them. The South Florida Bulls were in action. Before we get to them, I'm going to take out the names. I'm just going to give you some stats. If that's okay, Chris.
Okay.
I'm going to give you... Let's just pretend for a second you don't know that we're talking about Florida schools.
Okay.
I'm going to give you some stats here. 2 running backs. The first running back has 88 carries for 362 yards and a touchdown. Second running back has 23 carries, 302 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Who would you say of the 2 of those is better? I can do the stats again if you need.
Oh, yeah, please.
Okay. 88 carries, 362 on yards, 1 TD.
Okay.
23 carries.
Oh, okay, got it.
302 yards, 3 TDs.
Right, second, okay.
So the second one you take?
Yeah.
All right. Now what if I told you the second guy did all those stats in 1 game?
What?
And the first guy did it in the entire season of 5 games.
23 touches in a game? It's pretty good.
Okay, so the first running back, 88 carries, 362 yards, 1 touchdown. That's Cam Akers at Florida State.
Okay.
The entire year. That's what he's done.
Right.
Jordan Cronkite of the South Florida Bulls. 1 game against UMass. 23 touches, 302 yards, 3 TDs. That's a conference record, folks.
3 what?
302, 3 touchdowns.
Wow. Well, that name sounds real familiar. I'm pretty sure he was a former Gator.
Yes, transfer.
Okay, I knew that name sounded real familiar.
Yep.
Okay.
Coming full circle with Florida, baby.
All right. Well, good for him.
Jordan Cronkite. Good catch, by the way. And now this is UMass. Take Florida. But to run it for 300 yards against anybody. Jeez.
Yeah.
So good for him. And South Florida scores 58. And as we talked about before, allowed 40 points. So didn't outscore them by a lot. But, South Florida's going to play down their competition. We expect that all year.
Yeah.
And they handle business. But yeah, what a game for him.
Yeah, no joke.
That's just insane.
Yeah, he had flashes at Florida, but he just had the running back position was just too deep.
The pool, yeah. Rich man problem. Both Florida State and Florida. Just rich man problems. Too many good running backs.
Right.
Well,
wow.
Not the case here with Florida State this season, but Cam's off to a very, very slow start.
Yeah. Okay. Good. And then FIU have played a tough game against BYE.
I ain't falling for that this time.
And they had a draw.
Yeah, nice try.
Okay.
Yeah, good for them.
Good. You're on your toes this week.
Yeah. All right. Does that wrap it? Yeah, Miami plays Florida State, so that wraps everybody in 4.
Yep.
All right, really cool. Real quickly before we move on to next week's preview, patreon.com/Florida Focus Podcast. My beard is getting long, folks. I started it in June. It's getting very thick. I have to brush it now. It's intense. So you will make me happy. You'll make my wife very happy. Getting up to 5 Patreons so we can.
His neighbors will appreciate it.
Yeah, exactly. The fleas that try to swim around me, though,
right.
they're a little bit disappointed. So,
right.
$1 a month gets our eternal thanks, and we give you access to our private Facebook page. Some very good stuff there. We're going to start adding stuff more. $5 a month gets you a welcome package. Plus, it gives you our secret episodes, which gives you our raw emotion, the instant reaction to the games. Plus, we'll give you the pre-show and post-show audio. So,
yeah,
all kinds of rewards for that.
Definitely worth it.
Absolutely. More and more fun. So, next week, we won't even bother teasing Florida State. They get a bye. And the only thing I'll say about this is the impending Hurricane Matthew, and I pray everyone's safe, is the schedule's a little bit tweaked so we can stay safe and make sure everybody's okay.
Yeah.
But that's really the only thing about that. So Florida, however, does not take the week off. So what do you think of their game coming up?
We have Vandy at Vandy. Again, not affected by the hurricane because we'll be in Nashville. I think it's a game that we should handle our business. It'll probably be closer than it should, to be honest. A couple things. We had 3 straight games of just intense, either rivalry with Tennessee, then on the road, Mississippi State, and obviously the LSU game. And now you have to go to Vandy. It's going to be tough selling them on that, knowing that after that is a bye week and then Georgia. So getting them pumped as much for Vandy as, say, LSU and Mississippi State, it's going to be a task for the coaching staff. And it's a noon kickoff. I think it's our first one this year. It's always going to be sluggish. And then I think it might actually be 11 local time for them.
Yeah.
So those things you have to worry about. You really do. But as far as a team, Vanderbilt, they don't really scare me too much. They've played they've played Notre Dame and Georgia already. Notre Dame, they only lost by 5 at Notre Dame. But then they lost South Carolina, Georgia blew them out. So they've played good teams and good competition, but really haven't done too much. They've got a pretty decent quarterback in Shermer. Already over 1,400 yards passing. Pretty decent, 9 touchdowns. So I'm not too worried. If we play anything like we've been playing, we should be fine. But I know just getting them pumped up and, if you will, a trap game, I could see it being close 4.5. It may be we stumble through 3 quarters, but we should get this win. And it should be, I would say, 14, 15 points. Although people are going to be like, we should blow them out by 20, 21, 4 touchdowns. But I'm being realistic. A couple touchdowns. Go home. Take the W and get ready for your bye week in Georgia.
Yeah. I think Vandy has done a good job of beating the teams they should and being competitive in the games that they shouldn't. Like, they beat Middle Tennessee State. That's one of the best Conference USA teams besides FAU. You beat Nevada handily.
Right.
You do squeak out a Tennessee State win, which is kind of weird, but
you
come off of Notre Dame and South Carolina, so I forgive you. And then you had Georgia looking forward, so
right.
But again, taking care of the teams that you should, and they're not the worst team in the SEC. I think I asked you a couple weeks ago if Arkansas was, and I'm pretty sure they are. So
it's confirmed.
Yeah.
Yes. I checked the officials. They are the worst.
Yeah, here you go. So, Vandy, pretty decent. They're going to struggle to get to a bowl, but that's usually kind of where they are. The early lines.
They always play us tough. Play us tough.
Yeah. Jay Cutler days, much?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, yeah. I was kind of surprised to see the line at, Vandy +7.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's
Maybe
accurate.
they're expecting a letdown from the Gators.
Maybe.
That's the only reason. And, Florida doesn't score a lot of points, which is fine. But against Vandy, you would think it'd be somewhere around 10 or 9. A little respect. But I don't think Florida struggles here. But for the reasons you just mentioned, yes, got to be careful.
Yeah.
Going on the road to, anchor down. Is that their phrase?
It is their phrase.
You gotta watch out for it. But I don't think Florida struggles here. You do enough. Again, I keep going back to special teams. That's where you can win games, the hidden yardage, things like that.
Yeah.
The defense continues to impress, and the rushing attack, you're going to keep them off the field. They do have a pretty decent offense, but not enough, and not with the talent that Florida has to probably contend here. It would be very, very surprising to me if it's late and Vandy has an opportunity to come close.
Yeah. Nothing about Vandy truly scares me, but I don't see Vandy beating us, but I could see us beating ourselves. So we got to worry about that.
Okay.
As long as we don't beat ourselves, we should be fine.
Okay.
And again, if we come out of there with a 3-point victory, I'm happy.
Yeah.
I'm totally happy.
Does Florida have a bye week after that?
We do.
You do? Okay. So, even the more reason to be careful, but also, however we win,
Right.
So.
I will take it.
Very good. Florida State's off, as I mentioned. South Florida is at Tulsa Friday night. Tulsa's 1-4. Struggles abound. But again, don't take the spread on this one. South Florida can't put teams away, and that seems to be okay. And then real quickly, UCF, they go to Memphis. Now, preseason to me, this is something I would have actually predicted Memphis to win this game in an upset. But I've since changed my mind. It happens, Chris.
Okay.
It does happen. And here's the reason why. UCF has beaten Memphis 11 times in a row.
Right.
They're old Conference USA foes. And there's really no surprise in how Memphis is going to try and move the ball. Henderson leads the nation with rushing. He has 934 yards of rushing so far. And that's how they're going to try and win. They're going to run.
Right.
So there was so much hope for me. I really thought Memphis would upset UCF, go on to win the conference this year, but they've already lost 2 conference games. What goes in Memphis' favor is their 3rd nationally in offensive yards. And so just keep that up. By the way, first place is Alabama. I'm not really shocked there. Second place is Hawaii, who's had an extra game to play. So whatever. I throw that out. And then third is Memphis. So this is going to be high scoring. Take the over.
Yeah.
It's going to be close. But the problem is, UCF has no problem scoring, as we've already discussed. So very, very high scoring, 48-45 type of ordeal. It's not one of those games it comes down to who has the ball last. It's okay, which defense can force one turnover, you win.
Yeah, right.
So.
Okay. Man, I can't believe that they're ranked. They're climbing up there.
Yes, they are. And, if they keep winning, especially with the schedule they have now, it's a very interesting conversation. And, it just really depends on the playoff committee. Yeah. Do they have enough respect to put them exactly where the other polls put them? If so, they're on the trajectory to go in right now.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. If the schedule plays out and teams like Cincy are still doing well, you got to put them in.
Sure.
You gotta.
I agree. I didn't agree before, and I do now.
Right.
Let me be clear.
See, Miami, they play at Virginia, and it's one of those games that Miami should win, should be fine, but the early line is 6. Miami at 9, which is crazy. But
very crazy.
More and more I think about it, they almost lost at home to a Florida State team that they shouldn't have even messed with.
And it's not very good. I'm not going to lie.
I'll let you say that. I'll say they should.
Not very good. No, they're not. They're 3-3 in the year, struggled to a bowl game. So
yeah, So then you turn around this heated rivalry, you squeak one out and you go on the road. I mean, I'm not saying that, I'm not calling the upset, but they're on upset alert. I would put them on upset alert. Now, I definitely would maybe think about an upset if it was like a noon game, but it's a night game. So I wouldn't be surprised if Virginia is within striking distance in the fourth quarter.
Wow, okay.
Would not be, but I think Miami wins. So
yeah.
But Virginia does have a good offense, but Miami's strength is their defense, so they should be fine. And with the receivers that they have, they should be fine for this game. But they have to watch out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. All right, and then FAU, they have BYU again.
One for 3, which is good for a batting average, but
maybe I should quit while I was ahead.
Yeah,
should have quit. What I'll do is I'll lay low in the grass for a little bit and
let it snake in when I'm not expecting it.
Right, just like an alligator, right? It's a gator. Just gonna lay low and then strike.
There's not another animal you could have put the analogy with?
Oh no, it had to be a gator.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely,
just
maybe a snake, but
just making sure.
Yeah. So they'll be fine this week. Rest up. Let Singletary take a nap.
Yeah, exactly. He's running a lot.
Yeah, and then FIU hosts Middle Tennessee. So I don't know. I don't know if I toss up on that one. I would think. Oh. I would think it's FIU's playing pretty decent.
Yeah, they've shown some promise. I kind of like Middle Tennessee State. They show some gumption as FAU, so I'll take the Blue Raiders. Why not?
Okay. I would go with FIU.
Okay.
If I had to. But, interesting. Good. That'd be a good game today. 7:30? Good game, too. As the 7 o'clock games end, you can watch a little bit of that game to see who's...
Wow.
I think it'd be close in the fourth, so it's perfect.
I don't know how they got a night game, but good for them.
Yeah.
Yes. Real quickly before we move away from all of this, let me ask you a question, Chris. How many undefeated teams do you think are in the ACC remaining?
In the ACC remaining, I want to say 1.
There are 3.
3? Who's the other? I know Clemson.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's 2. Clemson is correct. NC State.
NC State. Okay. Yeah.
The reason I jumped the gun, I put Notre Dame in there. Sorry.
Oh,
they play 5 ACC games a year. That however you take that. I was really thinking from the Florida State perspective. We have 3 teams left on our schedule that are undefeated still.
Okay.
So that's going to be a rough stretch. Anyway.
Yeah.
How many undefeated teams do you think are still in the American? I kind of gave this one away already.
We'll go 3.
That's correct.
Okay.
UCF, South Florida, and Cincinnati are all still undefeated.
Okay.
And how many in the SEC?
2?
You're down to 1. Just Bama.
Georgia still hasn't lost.
Oh, Georgia. My bad. Yeah, there is 2.
Okay.
Kentucky got their first loss. So did LSU.
Right.
Yeah. And Georgia, are they even good? Do we even count them?
I think they're slightly overrated.
They're all right. Yeah. Okay.
But they're like overrated at 2, so they're like what, 4?
Right.
Still pretty good.
Yeah. I just like preseason I picked Bama in the SEC and still not confident that's gonna. I really feel like Georgia with a loss, and Atlanta still comes up with a W there. I just very interesting. It's it all comes down to it, and yeah, this all affects the state of Florida. Yeah, this all affects UCF. You're gonna need some of those teams to beat up on each other. I think I might finally change my opinion. I'm not quite sold on this yet, Chris. I might put UCF as the best team in the state. Might not. Miami's defense is just still too good to me. But I'm more and more leaning toward head-to-head matchup. UCF gets up, and then they probably don't let off the gas.
Right.
But we'll see.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know how I would put them either. You got to consider Florida. I wouldn't say put them in the top, but you got to at least consider them.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you have 3 straight wins in the SEC. That's very hard. And the week in, week out, even in Vandy, I would say 4 in a row. I throw Vandy in there. That's still a good win.
Yeah.
So, yeah. All right. Man, we've talked about a lot of stuff today.
Yes, we did.
Thanks for the fans sticking around, because the state of Florida the plot gets thicker. And there's Greek mythology, and there's veins popping out of the neck. There's so much stuff to cover. And we started
getting in the middle of the season. Love it.
Exactly. And you know what? We didn't even cover it all. And fans have a lot of topics they've thought about. There are ways they want to reach out and correct our errors. How can they do that, Chris? How can they reach out to us?
We have many ways. Obviously, start with the website, floridafocuspodcast.libsyn.com. Libsyn, Libsyn. Hit us up at Facebook and YouTube, Florida Focus Podcast. Twitter, @FloridaFocusPod. Email, FloridaFocusPodcast@yahoo.com. Snapchat and Instagram, FLFocusPod. And, of course, our Patreon account.
You got it. Well, thank you to the fans for listening. We would appreciate a 5-star rating on iTunes, and take the extra 45 seconds and write an actual review. Tell us how you feel about the actual show, how you feel. That means a lot to us because we can improve the show for you, right?
Yep.
So, all right. Well, thank you so much for listening. Anything else before we sign off for the night, Chris?
No, I'm good. I'm excited about our win. Looking forward to upcoming Vandy game, and you guys get a break this week, right?
We do, yeah. We get the week off, and I hope as I put on Twitter, I hope the mature Florida State fans sees this as something very good moving forward. There's a lot of positives you can take from this game, even though it was a loss, and it really encourages us moving forward. So let's stick with the team, guys. You only get 12 Saturdays a year.
Yeah. Good way to go, Coach.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. All right. Well, this is Brandon saying go Noles.
Go Gators.